Hey, welcome back to the Dr. Amber Show. Today I want to share with you about this song that I I have been listening to nonstop for at least a week. I would say at least a week now. And the funny thing about this song is that it's 2 years old. I just looked up the lyrics because I want to share them with you today and kind of talk about it and let you know what it made me think about. But this song is 2 years old. And actually, when I started to listen to it over and over again, because that's typically what I do. I don't know if you are like me. When I find something that I really like, whether it's a song or a show or a food item or a piece of clothing, I keep doing the thing over and over again until I'm just magically done with it. I could eat the same breakfast for months at a time. I can listen to the same song every single day over and over again for months at a time, and it does not bother me. That is just who I am. That is my thing. But there's something about this song. And so I want to share it with you because it makes me think of this emotional experience that I believe many parents have, and that I know I have often, that I have named, and I'm going to tell you the name of it. I'm going to explain it to you, and we're just going to talk about it. But let's start with the song. Don't judge me for this song. Today I was thinking about this show and I was like, okay, I really want to talk about this song. Don't judge me for, okay, so we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with it. So one thing you should know about me, I love all types of music. And so this song is called Beautiful Things by, I'm looking here, Benson Boone. I don't even know who this person is, but I know that like when I started to hear the song, I was like, oh, this sounds familiar. Like I've heard this somewhere. I had just never sat down and listened to it. So if you're not familiar with this song, actually, if you would like, take a moment, go listen to the song, but please come back so we can talk about it because we need to talk about this song, right? So I'm looking at the lyrics. I'm going to explain the lyrics for you a little bit, but in the beginning, basically the first part of the song, he's saying like, he says, for a while there, things were rough, but lately I've been doing better. So it sounds like he had hit a rough patch. And the last 4 cold Decembers, he recalls, that he's been doing better. So things have been a little rough, but the last 4 years, things have been improving and getting better. And he talked about how he sees his family on a regular basis, and he's found a girl that his parents love, so someone that he's connecting with and in relationship with, it sounds like. And then I'm actually going to read the lyrics specifically to this part. So he talks about all of that, of like this rough patch, but doing better in the last 4 years, seeing his family every month and finding this girl, this woman that he really loves. And then he says, and I thank God every day for the girl he sent my way, but I know the things he gives me, he can take away. And I hold you every night, and that's a feeling I want to get used to. But there's no man as terrified as the man who stands to lose you. So let's stop right there. Because when I heard that, like I was just vibing to the song at first. And it's funny, I was in the car with my daughter, taking her to dance recital practice. So we had a lot of time. And we were just vibing to the song. And I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Did he just put words to a feeling, an experience that I have literally been thinking about for so long? So much so that I told myself I was going to write an article about this on Psychology Today prior to even hearing this song, this concept of this feeling that we're going to talk about. He put into words for me, again, just that feeling of, I thank God every day. And again, religious or spiritual beliefs aside, just, feeling grateful and gratitude for the people in his life, the person, finding his person, and knowing that with all these things that he feels grateful for and gratitude for, they won't last forever. Okay, so back to the lyrics. So he says he's terrified because he knows that he could lose all of this. And then he says, sorry guys, I had a message. So then he goes on to say, oh, I hope I don't lose you. Please stay. I want you. I need you. Oh God, don't take these beautiful things that I've got. I could just hear the song in my head. Please stay. I'm not going to sing to you. I want to so bad, but I'm not going to. We're not there yet. Maybe episode, 25? I don't know. We're not there yet. But again, he says, I hope I don't lose you. Please stay. I want you. I need you. Oh God, don't take these beautiful things that I've got. And then he says that again. The rest of the song just goes into saying that he's so grateful for having the things in his life. He's got peace, he's got love, but he's up at night thinking about how he just might lose it all. So then he goes on into the chorus, please stay, I want you, I need you. Oh God, don't take these beautiful things that I've got. Can I just say, again, listen to this song if you feel so inclined. Can I just say that as a parent, this song hit me in a way that like, I was like, excuse me, sir, please. Like, I don't, the feeling of knowing how precious and sacred, whether it's your life is, your relationships, your children, and there's so many things that you might have, and I know that I have in my life that I feel so grateful for. My spouse, my children, my family, my friends, my career, my home, my health. There are so many things in my life that I feel grateful for. And often, and this happened a lot more since becoming a parent, often I am so keenly aware of how impermanent these things are. Everything I have today that I enjoy today, everything that I love so deeply, everything that I literally could not imagine life without could be gone tomorrow. Deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. Every single thing that we love, we cherish, we hold deep, even our children, are not guaranteed. And that, as a psychologist, but also as someone who is deeply spiritual, is something that I think about often. And I it's something that I also know that my clients think about often, or parents that I work with, just how fragile this life is, and this dance that we do of obliviously walking through life, living our life, and trying to be in the moment, but then in the back of your mind knowing anything could happen. I took some notes on what I wanted to say about this episode, and the first thing I want to let you know is there's this term that I use to describe this feeling, and the way that I use it is I call it a beautiful sadness. So if you hear anybody else saying it, know that they got to hear. I call it a beautiful sadness, and it's almost kind of like a bittersweetness, but it is a touch of sadness with the flair of beauty and depth. There's a richness to it. It's not only a sadness, because sadness doesn't have a gratitude connected to it, or a positivity connected to it, or a cheerfulness connected to it, but this does. It's the sadness that I feel and love so deeply. And in this moment, I'm keenly aware that life could have it that I may not experience this thing, whether it's this love for this person, or this experience with my children, or the ease of our lifestyle. It is a beautiful sadness. That is what I like to call it. And with this beautiful sadness, what comes with it is this awareness of how impermanent our life could be. And when you think about that, that could mean a number of things. It could be the impermanence of a career you love, right? Like, job loss is upon us. Many people that I know have experienced job loss and things that have really shifted and pivoted their careers. The impermanence of that, having the experience of doing something for many years that you love, and then boom, you have to make a change. This awareness of how impermanent life could be could also be about your health, right? How one day you could be healthy and moving, and then something could happen, whether it's a car accident or a diagnosis that catches you by surprise that really could change things. It could be physical or it could be mental health, emotional health. Things can change. I think some of the hardest ways to think about this, but important to acknowledge because we are human, is the impermanence of life. And whether that is the impermanence of our lives as parents, the impermanence of our parents' lives. And I know so many of us are going through that experience right now where we are watching our parents age and we are having conversations with them about their health or plans for that, whether it's estate planning or having conversations about wills and desires after their life. These are all very real things. This could also be the impermanence of our lives, So you might be thinking, well, what will happen if and when something happens to me? Who will take care of my children? Will my children be okay? Will they be prepared? How will people think about me? There's also sometimes, and I know people who have had this experience, where this means the impermanence of our children's lives. I think for many parents, the thought of losing a child is unimaginable. And I know you're probably mad at me for even making you think about this. But I don't want to pretend like I'm not thinking about the things. I want to actually share them. And I think about this all the time. I think about this all the time. And I believe that you do too. I believe that the people around you think about this all the time. And we see it in our behaviors and in our decisions. And we'll get to that part of this soon too. But I know you're thinking about it because I'm thinking about it. And we should just talk about it instead. With beautiful sadness, there's also this deep awareness and appreciation for how precious our experiences are. There's one thing about parenting, and I think all of you can relate to this, is that this shit is hard as, sorry. I cuss. Y'all know I cuss. This is not a surprise. This shit is hard. I was going to say, I don't know anything else that I currently do in my life that feels more difficult than being a parent. And let me scan my brain real quick to make sure I'm not lying to you. No. This is one of the most difficult things I do and continue to do and show up for every single day. Being a parent. It is the most difficult thing, and it's difficult not because the kids are difficult. It's difficult because now I'm sitting with that. What does it mean for me when I say parenting is difficult? And you might be talking back to me and saying, well, it's difficult because of this and this and this and this. But we all have that experience of this is really hard. And I think it's hard because I have moments with my kids, and I know that you probably have moments like this too, where my kids force me to grow and force me to look at myself in ways that I never have before. there are very few people in my life that hold me accountable in the ways that my children do, simply by them showing up as themselves. There are very few people in my life who demand so much from me, and not in the way that they're constantly asking me for things, but demand my growth, demand my presence, demand my wellness and my well-being, because I can't care for them if I am not whole, present, and here. It is a full, whole body, whole everything experience. And I want to give it all to my kids. I've never been forced to grow so much than when being asked to become a parent. And I am committed to doing it, and it is hard. Because sometimes we just want to stay the same. Like sometimes we don't want to grow. Sometimes we just want to be complacent and, want to be toxic, but you can't when you're a parent. So that's why it's difficult. But despite all of that difficulty, let's get back to beautiful sadness. Despite all of that difficulty, beautiful sadness makes you keenly aware of how precious these experiences are. There's this phrase that my father used to always say, the days are long, but the years are so short. And actually, when I think about my father, we may talk about him more in this show, but he, I think, is someone that likely experienced a great deal of beautiful sadness. He seemed like someone who was very aware of impermanence or how things can change. And I think it's because of his own experiences of losing his father at a very early age, and losing his mother, and his own life living with a chronic illness. And he was very, very close and aware with that. But unfortunately for my father, I don't think that he had the necessary emotional tools, resources, capacities to know what to do with that. So instead, what ended up happening is he spent a lot of his life living in the dark side of this beautiful sadness, which we'll get to in a moment. But okay, beautiful sadness, it makes you super aware of how impermanent things are. It makes you super aware of how precious life is and how precious these experiences you get to have are. But also, beautiful sadness also gets you in touch with this thing that psychologists call anticipatory grief. And it's essentially your awareness of the fact that things over time are being lost. Maybe you're in a phase or in a point in your life where no, you haven't lost your parents yet. You haven't lost, anything significant, whether it's a career or a sibling or a spouse or a child. But you see evidence of it unfolding in front of you. Like I think the one example we all can really resonate right now is the loss of a parent. You see evidence of that unfolding, and you feel something when you see that your parent is not bouncing back as easy or walking as quickly, when they forget something or when they just aren't looking well, they don't feel well. It's maybe taking them a longer time to recover from a cold. You start to know, ooh, this is different. Many of us are in a phase where we are actively caring for our parents. And I know that if that is you, you are deeply in that phase or that period of being very aware of the grief and the loss that is gradually occurring over time. This also happens with our kids, right? Like, for example, my kids are 5 and 7, and I know that y'all know this experience. You know how when you're just, scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you like to scroll, and you see a video about a parent and a child, and it is so touching, and you find yourself crying at 8:09 in the morning when you're supposed to be doing whatever you need to do to get ready for your day, but you're crying over strangers. You're crying. It's because it touched something in you. And a lot of times for me, the things that bring me to tears is when people make me very aware of the fact that my kids are changing. My kids are not going to be the same next year. The fact that my son looks so different than he did when he was a baby. He's 4 feet and I'm 5 feet 2. He's gonna be taller than. I'm at this stage with my son where we're definitely in the last moments of me being able to carry him. He's 7 and I lift. I go to the gym, so I'm strong. So I can still pick him up, but walking with him, I don't know if I'll be able to do that next year. And that hurts. I told myself I'm not crying today. So you can cry. I'm not crying today. Sometimes I think about how long the days feel, but then how short the years are. And one day my babies are not going to live with me, one day I hope they're always welcome in my home, but one day they're going to have their own home. They might decide they want to live in a completely different city, a completely different state. And the anticipatory grief is knowing that as each day passes, that is inevitable. Yeah, it's a beautiful sadness that we all feel, we all think about. Sometimes it keeps us up at night. But what's the dark side of this? Let's talk about that. The dark side of this beautiful sadness can lead to clinging too tightly to what is. And the danger in that as a parent is, as you know, everything is changing. Life doesn't give a fuck about what you want and what you want to stay the same. Life is going to happen. And so guess what? Your kids are going to change. They're going to grow. My kids be playing around with calling me mom instead of mommy. And I'm like, and they just laugh, but I'm just like, I'm not ready for that transition. Things are changing. And if I cling too tightly because I don't want to let go of what I love, the beautiful things that I love, it's going to hold them back. And it's going to hold me back. And I don't want to be held back. And I definitely don't want them to be held back. So clinging too tightly can be a warning sign or a red flag for you that maybe you need some support around this really big, deep, heavy emotional experience that you're having. Another dark side of this is, of course, fear, anxiety. We talked about that in episode 1. But fear and anxiety of the future. Fear and anxiety of growth and evolution. It's not necessarily that you're clinging so tightly because you want this to stay the same, but rather you're clinging so tightly because you're afraid of what could happen. And again, what's the fear in that? Well, you're clinging to try to control something is an illusion because you can't control any of it. Your kids are going to grow. Your kids are going to want to have new experiences. Life is going to happen. The future is inevitable. So the more that we cling, the more tension, the more conflict, the more distress that happens for you and for your kids. Another dark side of this beautiful sadness could be this lack of presence. And I have a lot of people who have this experience. Sorry, thought I had a call. I have a lot of people who have this experience, people that I work with in therapy, where the depth of their emotion feels so intense that they have to avoid it. And so they avoid it by doing all these other things, right? Like they're just like, well, I'm not going to pay attention to that. Let's just go, let's talk about this, or let's do this. A lot of times it's like getting lost in the phone, the scrolling, because that gives you that dopamine hit. And it's like, okay, I feel better. I feel better. Just this general lack of presence that can be a problem for you, for your relationships, especially your relationship with your kid. We want you to be present. We also want you to be ready to have these deep conversations when they come up with your kids, with your families. Don't avoid those conversations, even with your parents. So let's talk about how to apply the PCR method. Let me show you my book. If you don't have it already, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation can really support you. And in it, there is a framework I call the PCR method. And it is the framework that I hope to support parents with who are feeling emotionally dysregulated. In other words, they're feeling very overwhelmed, overstimulated, dysregulated by the intensity of their emotions, or the flood of emotions. And this beautiful sadness can be a really dysregulating feeling. So let's talk about the framework. The P stands for practical. So with that, I want you to be thinking about what practical changes can you make in your day-to-day to help you cope with or manage this experience of beautiful sadness or anticipatory grief. So you might have to pause and reflect about your day-to-day to get a sense of what are the things that trigger this in me? How do I typically react to it in the moment? And what can I do to give myself more space to respond differently? The C stands for conscious. How can you become more consciously aware of your emotional experience? So with this, basically, I want you to lean into the beautiful sadness. So go put on the song, go listen to beautiful things, and just cry in your car. I want you to, because guess what? You need to feel it. We can't avoid this. We can't run from it. The more you try to squash down your feelings, the more it's going to find a way to pop out. And guess what? It's going to pop out at 9:07 in the morning when you're about to get ready for a meeting, but you're crying instead because of all the anticipatory grief that you really should have just been talking about with a friend, or just crying about for 2 minutes in the car, or going to therapy about. So I want you to become very consciously aware of what this feeling feels like for you and what you think about. What I also believe will happen as you become more consciously aware of these experiences of beautiful sadness is that it'll push you into these other things. It'll get you out of the dark side of clinging too much, having too much fear and anxiety and worry of the future, being not present, but put you in this other space where you're deeply aware of how impermanent life is. You're deeply aware of how precious this experience is for you, and you're experiencing gratitude and love. That's what I want for you. So play around with how beautiful sadness can lead to gratitude and love as you allow yourself to experience it. Lastly, the R. The R stands for realistic. So that means let's get real. Let's stop pretending like death is not happening. Let's stop pretending like loss is fake. Let's stop pretending that your kids are not going to grow up. They are. Your kids are going to grow up. You're not going to live forever. Your parents are not going to live forever. And there are some really hard things you need to face, and we can't run from them anymore. And it's okay. So let's get real. And so what do you need to do in order to do that? So think about that. That's something I want you to reflect on. How can you use this PCR method? If you need an overview, get a copy of the book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, to help you through it. But how can you use this to help you continue to live with this experience of beautiful sadness that will come? Thank you for listening today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Before I go, because I got to go pick up my kids. Oh my God. Summer schedule is driving me crazy, and I feel like I'm going to be a little rushed today. But I want to end with a few ways to work with me. If you are interested in working with me, Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist, I've got some ways for you. One, I am preparing my parenting group called Becoming the Parent You Needed. It is an 8-week parent participation experience that will help you to become a parent who is emotionally regulated, who is grounded, who is present, and ultimately breaking generational cycles that you don't want to bring into your parenting experiences with your child. We get to talk about all those things, a lot of the things we talked about today, and help you to evolve and transform into the parent you always knew you could be. So check my website out for that program. Happy to have you there. Therapy with me. I also provide individual therapy to parents around their own emotional experiences or parenting consultation work. I currently have a wait list for therapy though, but if you want to get on the wait list, go to my website, dramberthornton.com. You can join the wait list there. I love doing psych evals. So if you have questions about your brain function, your emotions, your personality, and need some clarity, that's something I can also do for you. Again, check the website to learn more about my offerings around psych evaluation and testing. I'm happy to come speak and train your organization around parenting issues, emotional regulation, emotional experiences of parenting. And then lastly, of course, get the book, y'all. Just get the book. We're going to be talking about the book a lot in this show, so I think you should have a copy. All right, we did it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. In the comments, let me know what your favorite part was, what your takeaway was, and I'll see you on the next one.